Hey guys, this is Dave here with a look at Dishonored 2 across consoles and PC. So a lot's changed with this sequel. The developers have switched out the use of Unreal Engine 3 in favour of the Void Engine, an in-house technology that is actually based upon id Software's id Tech, the same rendering technology that powers the likes of Doom. And indeed, with this switch comes several clear upgrades over the original game, ranging from improved shaders and lighting, along with an innovative temporal anti-aliasing solution and a dynamic resolution scaler, which is actually present across all versions of the game. Here we've got the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions, and indeed there is a difference in visual quality between them, particularly with regards to resolution. Now both games are operating with a dynamic resolution scaler in play. The base resolution on PS4 is 1080p, while 900p appears to be the highest resolution we found on Xbox One. Interestingly, the vertical resolution appears to stay locked on both versions, while the horizontal resolution, that dynamically adjusts depending on rendering load. So on Xbox One this can drop down to around 1280, whereas on PlayStation 4 around 1700, and of course this changes in various increments. The end result is we do get a sharper presentation on the PlayStation 4, and to be honest, while playing I didn't really notice any overt drops in resolution, particularly because there is a lot of post-processing going on, such as depth of field and motion blur, and in fast-paced scenes you really don't get per pixel sharpness anyway. Meanwhile on Xbox One, image quality appears consistently softer, and in some scenes the drops in resolution did have a tangible impact on image quality. Outside of resolution though, and both consoles are pretty much even when it comes to graphical quality. We've got the same effects work, shadows, and indeed textures. The backbone of the game is essentially identical, and it really is just raw image sharpness where PS4 owners benefit here. Moving on to PlayStation 4 Pro, and as we've seen with many other games on the system, when running in 4K mode we're greeted with a higher resolution, in this case around 1440p, whereas in 1080p mode there is the potential for super sampling. However, getting the game to output in this manner is not exactly straightforward. So here we've got the game running in 1080p mode. That's direct 1080p captures from the console booting up in this resolution, and well, image quality appears exactly the same as the base PlayStation 4 game. There are no visual enhancements here at all, be it resolution, AA or effects work. However, if we start by playing the game in 4K mode hooked up to say a 4K TV, and then switch to 1080p with the game still running, then we actually get 1440p super sampled down to 1080p. The downside is that you can only achieve this by having a 4K screen, and let's face it, if we've got a 4K TV we're really not going to be selecting 1080p mode unless it gives us things like higher frame rates or a massive boost in visual quality, and Dishonored 2 does neither. It's a bit weird to be honest, and I can't imagine that the game is intended to work like this, so perhaps it's a bug. But the end result is still the same. If you've got a full HD screen and a Pro, you're not getting any benefits with Dishonored 2 here. So on consoles it's generally the PlayStation 4 version that takes point, but how does this compare to the PC game? So here we've got the PC version running at 1080p resolution to match the consoles and running at ultra settings. In terms of image quality we decided to choose the TX-AA1X anti-aliasing option because this provides much smoother image quality free from the pixel crawl we see when using lower quality post-process solutions. For example, the next step down is FXAA High, and even though this results in a visibly sharper image, there's plenty of jaggies and specular aliasing, and that's not ideal. Instead, the TXAA option actually provides a similar level of refinement as we've seen on consoles, so it certainly appears the best version to use here. As to be expected, the PC version offers up various refinements in other areas too, so shadows are rendered at a higher resolution, thus appearing sharper and more defined. And we also get more refined ambient occlusion too, which adds more depth to the scene. Also note that the colour grading across the walls here is slightly different, perhaps owing to tweaks in lighting on the PC version not found on consoles. In some scenes the game also features use of high resolution textures and normal maps. Now this isn't too noticeable during gameplay, and instead many of these high quality assets tend to appear during the cutscenes, embellishing belt buckles and medals on character clothing. The difference is plain to see in these particular scenes, but outside of that, it's not really that noticeable when playing the game. One thing that does stand out though is the improved draw distance. Take this scene for example. On consoles we notice shadows, lighting and high quality models all popping in as we approach the island. But on PC the vast majority of high quality assets are already on show, with no jarring transitions. So clearly the PC version delivers the most refined experience with regards to graphical quality, but where performance is concerned, optimization is not ideal. We captured the game running at 1080p, fully maxed out at ultra settings, using a Titan X Pascal, and get this, we couldn't hit a solid 60 FPS, with demanding scenes exhibiting visible stutter due to frequent frame rate drops. And that's insane considering this is a card that is designed for 4K gaming, and indeed we've run titles such as Doom, Forza Horizon and Gears of War 4 all at 4K 60 FPS, and yet with Dishonored 2 we're running at 1080p and achieving a locked 60 FPS is off the cards at ultra settings. The situation here isn't great, and although the developer has issued a patch in order to tackle the problem, it still seems that performance is being bottlenecked and we're not getting as high frame rates as we should be with high-end graphics cards. In terms of console performance, the developer targets a more modest 30 FPS instead, and the game runs with an adaptive VSync in place, leading to the appearance of tearing when the engine is under stress. For the most part, in less demanding moments, the game manages to maintain the desired 30 FPS target rather well. Gameplay feels smooth and consistent here, and the experience is generally very stable. But when moving into more complex areas or engaging in combat with several enemies, then performance does take a dive. Take this particular section here, which is one of the game's biggest stress tests. As we're sailing into the city, we see frame rates drop down to around 20 FPS on both PS4 and Xbox One, resulting in noticeable judder. It's not great, the action doesn't appear smooth, and it kind of takes you out of the overall experience. Interestingly, in the same scene, PlayStation 4 Pro actually offers up a tangible improvement in performance. Lowest frame rates here hit around 25 FPS, which to be honest isn't ideal, and this particular section doesn't feel smooth on any of the consoles. Moving into combat, and we get a better turnout for PlayStation 4 Pro. Here the game runs at a locked 30 FPS, free from the torn frames and stutters that appear on the base PS4 game and Xbox One. It's a welcome upgrade, and the game is certainly a lot more playable in these scenes as a result. In terms of the base PS4 and Xbox One games, well, the PlayStation 4 takes point. There's less screen tearing and frame rates aren't quite as compromised to the same degree as Xbox One. So the game does feel slightly better to play, but ultimately in demanding scenes neither console offers up the kind of consistency we'd expect from a game targeting 30 FPS. So overall, in terms of the consoles, the PlayStation 4 version offers up the more refined experience. We get better image quality and a slightly higher level of performance over Xbox One. Meanwhile, PlayStation 4 Pro, well, that's a bit of a mixed bag. If you've got a 1080p screen, you're really not seeing any kind of benefit here, whereas 4K TV owners do get a nice boost in resolution to 1440p. As to be expected, the PC version delivers the most refined visual experience, although right now the game doesn't appear to be as well optimized as it could be, leading to subpar performance even when using ultra high-end graphics cards. Anyway, I think that about covers everything. If you enjoyed this analysis, then don't forget to give us a like or subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. You're not going speed. No, you're